Hi, if you hear what sounds like a whistling noise or anything, it's my radiator. There's nothing I can do about it. I am sorry. I really hope that it's not picking up as bad as it sounds in real life right now. What's up you guys, it's Hannah. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to sit down with you guys and just chat. I wanted to give you guys an update on how everything has been going. Next week will be 2 full months since I have moved in here. If you're new here, hi, my name is Hannah. I'm 22 years old. I just graduated from college in the spring and I moved out 2 months ago to New York City by myself. And I just really want to sit down and talk to you guys about how it's been so far. I know that I've updated you here and there throughout the past few vlogs, but I just feel like I have a lot of thoughts. And also I have been getting a lot of comments on those vlogs just from people who say that they are going through, sorry, I'm getting comfortable. They are going through something similar, or they're moving out soon and they're nervous about it, or they just moved out, or anything like that. I just feel like there's more people experiencing this right now than I even thought, and I want to share my experience with this because I know that seeing someone else's perspective and their experience and how they're handling things can be helpful for yourself sometimes. And if not, I mean, I just wanted to sit and have a casual chat with you guys. I feel like we haven't done something like this in a really long time, so that's what we're gonna do today. So first I just want to talk generally about the whole thing, how I'm doing with it all in general, how I'm adjusting. Then I actually came up with a list of things that have helped me throughout this process. And lastly, I wanted to answer some of your questions. I asked you guys on my Instagram story a couple hours ago. You guys asked some really good questions, so I'm excited to get into those as well. First order of business, how I am doing in general. Overall, when people have asked me over the past couple months how I have been feeling about the move, how I'm adjusting, my response is genuinely that I'm doing a lot better with it than I thought I was going to. I went into this entire thing with so much anxiety. I was very worried about how I was going to react to all of this mentally because I have talked about this like a million times now. Sorry if it's getting repetitive, but if you're new here, I went to college away from home my first 2 years and I absolutely hated it. I have never felt lonelier, and that was my first experience moving out of my house. I know it was just college, so it wasn't like I was fully moving out, but you know what I mean. It was my first place I was living away from home and it did not go well at all. So I feel like I just have some leftover, I don't want to call it post-traumatic stress, maybe it is post-traumatic stress. It was just a super dark time for me mentally. I started my YouTube channel during that time, which is one of the only things that gave me a sense of inspiration during that time. Pretty much my first experience of leaving the house and moving out somewhere else was not good. So after 2 years, I transferred to a school closer to me and I was living at home for the last 2 years and just commuting. I basically was putting myself on a timeline since the beginning of the year because I knew that in May I was going to graduate, and after that I didn't know what was next. I was always anxious about the thought of moving out because I had become so comfortable in my house at home with my parents. I was just comfortable there. I knew that I needed a change and I needed to step out of my comfort zone if I wanted to grow and progress in my life on the journey that I have for myself, but I just didn't know how I was gonna feel about it. And I can confidently say that this has not been nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be. I wanted to say that I don't know why that is, but I'm gonna tell you guys, you know, a list of things that have helped me. My expectations versus reality of the adjusting, totally different. My expectation was that I was gonna cry like all the time and that I was just gonna hate it and I was gonna wanna move home and I was gonna be so distraught. But the reality is that yes, I do miss home and I miss my family being under the same roof as me, but I don't feel like I should be there rather than here, if that makes sense. The adjustment wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be simply because I am now living in a place that I feel I belong in. I feel like this is where I need to be right now in my life. It's just a gut feeling that I have. And I know everyone talks about the like, oh, you know, you'll feel it in your gut when something is right. You'll feel like it's home, whatever. I never felt that way about college. I never felt that way with anything before, but I feel it here. And I don't want to jinx myself. Let me just knock on wood real quick. I don't know how else to explain it other than I just feel like this is where I should be right now. And that's a really comforting feeling. I want to get into the things that have really helped me to adjust to living here. I think these things are really would have been the difference for me. So this first one should not come as a surprise if you have been watching me. The first thing that has made this transition so much better for me is investing in my space. And that doesn't just mean financially, I mean investing time in your space, investing thought, you know, money if that applies, but you don't need to get expensive shit in order to have a nice space. Putting a lot of thought and effort and time into your space that you are living in to make it feel like home, to make it feel cozy, to make it feel welcoming, to make it feel like it is your little safe haven amidst the craziness of your surroundings. I made it an absolute priority to make this space a positive one for myself. I always say that your room is your sanctuary. It is so freaking true. Like my room, my apartment, it directly impacts my mental health. It's so important for me to have a space that I look forward to going back to, you know what I mean? From the minute that I walked in this apartment and I toured it, I felt something click for me. This was where I could see myself. It takes a lot of time to make it how you want it to, but it's so worth it to take that time. I can't even emphasize enough how important it is to make your space comfortable for yourself. It is literally the most important part, I think. The second thing that I think was extremely helpful for me, especially during the first month that I was living here, was staying busy. It just worked out that when I moved in for a solid month, I was so busy with work and deadlines, and all of the deadlines ran right up next to one another. So once I was finished with one, I started right on the next one. I always had something I was working on. I was always working on a project of some kind, and my energy all went towards that. Every day I didn't really do a whole lot else. I mean, obviously I like took some time here and there to like go out and explore or, you know, sit and watch TV if I wanted to, but my mind was so preoccupied with the things that I had coming up that I needed to complete that I don't think that I had time to sit and feel anything about the move. I didn't have any more thoughts that I could put towards being sad, thinking twice about my decision. And I'm not saying that you should try and like overload yourself and bite off more that you can chew. Not at all. I'm just saying that it's really helpful to have something that you're focusing on, especially for the first month, whether it be work or a hobby you're working on or socializing or something that takes your mind off of potential sadness. And it's not that I was stopping myself from feeling sad or anything. If I felt those feelings come to me, I let myself feel them and I acknowledged that they were valid. But I would say that having things that I was doing every day and focusing on and being busy with that stuff really helped me to just get into a groove. The next thing I wrote down that has helped me is I've tried to keep similar routines as I did at home. This mainly applies to morning routines and night routines. For example, every morning I wake up, go over to the kitchen, and I make breakfast. I usually either make oatmeal or cream of wheat. Those are like the two I've been alternating between for like a year now. While I do that, I listen to a podcast episode. I make my breakfast, I eat it, I make my coffee, and I sit down and I get ready. I've been doing that exact same thing for months because it's just my favorite way to start the day. I did that when I was at home and I have brought that over here and I do that here as well. It just gives you a sense of familiarity in your life. You don't want everything in your life to feel like it's done a complete 180, because that's really overwhelming to process. So just having a similar routine that is familiar to you and being able to bring that over into the new phase of your life, I don't know how to explain it. It's just comforting. I'm like, okay, this isn't so different. This is just, it's still me, it's still life. I'm doing similar things, I'm just doing them in a different place. Okay, the next thing I wrote down is having a cat. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have Charlie. I live alone, but having Charlie here, another little living being that loves me and that I love, and I have to take care of her and pay attention to her, it's almost like I don't live alone. It's like I have a roommate, but it's my cat who I love more than anything. I knew that moving out, I was going to need to have a cat. I was struggling because I didn't know if I wanted to bring Archie or Fluff with me, and I felt bad picking between the two. I'm like, what if the other one like realizes that I picked the other one because, and they think I don't like them? Obviously they're not gonna think that they're cats, but still, I was thinking that shit. So I ended up getting Charlie, obviously lived with me at my parents' house, but she was my cat. I was taking her with me when I moved, and that's exactly what I did. And it was the greatest decision ever. I love having Charlie. I love cats in general. They're low maintenance, but they're so loving. It's like filling a void. Like Charlie being here with me is filling the void that was left behind by leaving my family. I woke her. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You are the most precious. I always tell my mom I would be so sad and lonely if I did not have her. You are the best thing in the world. Do you know that? She's so over it right now. I'm so obsessed with you. So yeah, highly recommend having a cat. She is a lifesaver. The next thing that I think has really helped me is simply calling home. It's 2021. We live in an age of technology. Most people have phones. If not, write a damn letter, send a carrier pigeon, I don't know. I call home all the time. Almost every day I FaceTime my mom. I text my parents pretty much every day. I text my brother often. So it's not that I've lost contact with them completely. It's so easy to stay in touch thanks to technology. Moving out does not mean that you will never talk to them again or that you'll never see them again. It just means that you're kind of doing your own things right now, but you can always come back together and talk to each other, visit each other. Something that my mom and I do almost every night is we FaceTime and we watch the show that we're currently watching, which is The Secret Life of the American Teenager. We started watching that over the summer before I left. We would usually sit down every night and watch 1 or 2 episodes together in the living room. So once I moved here, we have continued doing the same thing. We just watch, obviously, separately on our respective TVs, and we FaceTime, so it's like we're watching together. That's so much fun. I look forward to that. It's just a nice way to, again, with the routines thing, it's a nice way to keep doing something that is familiar to you. 2 more things. Throughout this whole journey, I have made it a point to remind myself that I didn't move to Mars. It's not Mars. It's just another state. My parents' house is only 3 hours away. 3 or 4 depending on traffic, whatever. It's really not that far. It's not even like I moved across the country, but even if you are moving across the country from your family, it's still not Mars. And thanks to all the things that we have available now in terms of travel, you can go and visit them, they can visit you. It's really not that far. Finally, I touched on this one in my last video. Something that's helped me that I just realized and it really just started clicking for me is that home does not have to be just one place. For a while, I think that I associated home with my home in Pennsylvania at my parents' house, and that was like the only place that could be home for me. Everywhere else felt foreign to me, and it felt like other places couldn't be my home because that's already my home and you can only have one. That is not true at all. Home is wherever you have set up a life for yourself and a place where you feel like you belong and that you are happy and comfortable. Because of all the things that I have already talked about that have helped me to feel comfortable here, I truly do feel like this is a home for me now. I didn't expect to feel this way, at least not right away. My parents' house back in Pennsylvania, that will always be home as well. But there's just something about it that I feel like I can say that this is also a home. You can have more than one home. And just the thought of that has made me feel a little bit better, a little bit more at ease. I don't feel like I'm away from home and that I need to get back there as soon as possible. I feel like this is now a place that I have established a home as well, and I feel like I belong here. It's something that you can't really force either. It has to come to you and it has to click for you. Things have just been doing that lately. They've just been clicking all of a sudden. I'm not complaining. Yeah, just like take some of the pressure off of it is basically what I'm saying with the last 2 points. Take some of the pressure off of the situation. Don't make it as deep as you're making it. Like, yes, it's a big deal and it's a big next step, but it is not the end all be all. It doesn't have to be a complete flip of your reality, and it doesn't have to have as much weight as you're putting on it. I think I'm talking to myself here. So when I say you, I really mean me. But if you are relating to this, then I mean you too. But I'm mainly talking to myself. It doesn't have to be that deep if you don't make it that deep. Take some of the weight off your shoulders. You cannot hold the weight of the world on your shoulders. Just relax. Does anyone really know what they're f***ing doing? In all honesty, we're on a floating rock in like the middle of outer space. So chill. So that's everything that I wrote down for things that have helped me. And now I want to get into some of the questions that you guys asked me on my Instagram. Like I said, y'all asked some really great questions. First question, someone said, what's it like moving from a small town to a big city? It's like night and day. I sort of lived in a big city for a couple years when I went to Temple, but not really because I didn't actually like live there. I was just going to school there for a short period of time. But moving from a small town to a big city, I just feel like I moved from a fishbowl to the ocean. The amount of opportunities, for me at least, have just multiplied exponentially. I just feel more inspired. My creativity feels more inspired. There's nothing wrong with living in a small town, and there's nothing wrong with liking to live in a small town. It's to each their own. It's definitely a much slower pace of life. It's more laid back and it's way more tight-knit in a lot of cases. And the reason I liked living in my hometown was because a lot of my family was there. So that's definitely a pro, but I felt limited in a lot of ways when I was there, and I just felt like there was nothing there for me anymore. Except my family, obviously, but like in terms of opportunities and inspiration to be had, I just felt like I had exhausted all of those things already, and then I needed to move from the fishbowl to a bigger body of water. Seriously, it's like night and day. It is the greatest decision I could have made. There's so many things to try and do and see. I just think that it was exactly what I needed to do. And I can always go back to the small town and visit. I just feel like I have been and I will be opened up to so many new things, and it's just really exciting. I think that's really the word. It's exciting and it's inspiring. So the next question, also really good. Someone said, what's been your strategy for meeting new people? This is something I have always struggled with. I struggle with putting myself out there because I feel like I'm such an awkward person. I feel awkward like reaching out to people and, you know, wanting to be friends because I don't want them to think I'm weird. But to answer your question, my strategy for meeting new people so far has simply been to say yes to things. Obviously not all things, you know what I mean? Use some discretion, but things that I feel like would be a fun opportunity to go hang out with friends and maybe be opened up to more friends potentially, or just go somewhere new and do something new. Like, I have been really making it a point since I've moved here to say yes to things when people invite me to do things with them. Usually I'm the kind of person where I would like rather stay in at night and just like watch TV by myself or whatever than go out to a party or whatever, but I have been trying really hard to get out of my comfort zone and, you know, get dressed up and go to a party with a friend if they ask me to, because one, it could be a lot of fun. Two, I could meet new people, which three could lead to some new connections and new friends. I have a lot of social anxiety, but I also know that having a social life is important for my sanity. I need to talk to other people, I need to interact with other people, and I think that a really good way that I've been doing that is just by saying yes to things. I have made at least, like off the top of my head, 10 new connections, acquaintances, friends, whatever you want to call them, from just saying yes to things when I'm invited and going and being myself and having a good time and putting myself out there. I mean, it's super uncomfortable for me because, again, I feel like I'm awkward a lot of the time in those situations, but if you don't put yourself out there, then you're never gonna know what you could have had. I had a lot of people asking about costs of moving and costs of living here and budgeting and stuff like that, and I was actually thinking about doing a whole video on that, kind of like a week in my life, what I spend in a week living in New York City. Let me know if you guys would want to see something like that. I've had a couple people ask for that video before, but I'm nervous to make it just because I know how some people on the internet can be. The video would be solely for informational purposes. I feel like as a young adult, just got out of college, just moved out, post-grad, knowing things like that about how much things cost and different places can be helpful to other people who may want to live there, or just could be interesting to know and compare how things are different in different places. I don't know, like the point of it would be informational, but I don't want people to see the video and be like, her, she's just showing off, or she's just bragging that she lives there. Like, that's not the point. I don't know if anyone would even think that, but I always think that. My mind always goes to like, how could someone view this negatively? So I definitely am interested in making a video like that. If y'all would want to see that, let me know if you want to see that. Somebody said, do you work at home? And if yes, what do you do for fun when you're not working? Yes, I do work from home. I work at this very desk that you guys are seeing me sit at right now. What I do for fun when I'm not working, most of the time is watching TV. I love getting into a new series. I started watching One Tree Hill. I started watching it before, but I never really got into it, so I'm forcing myself to like stick with it because everyone just raves about it. So started that. I'm almost done season 1. I also started Sex and the City. I think things like that are so nice to have on, whether you're actually paying attention to them or they're just background noise while you're doing something else. I always put a show on or a podcast or something when I'm cleaning. If I'm just like sitting and doing work on my laptop, I'll have something on. I just think it's fun. I don't know. I like doing that. I also love freaking reading. Love it. Haven't had a chance to sit down and like actually read in such a long time, and I've missed it so much, but yesterday I actually sat and I was like, I'm gonna give myself time today to read this book that I have been wanting to read. So it was Verity by Colleen Hoover. Everybody and their mom has told me to read that book. I sat down yesterday and I started it, and I ended up reading the entire thing in 4 hours. And it was amazing. My God, I was off my phone for 4 hours. I was immersed in this story. It's so great. So I love to read. I also like going on walks around the city, just walking to different places, new coffee shops, new areas that I haven't really explored before. There's so much to freaking explore here. It's so much fun to just go on a nice walk. I like to put on a cute little outfit, listen to a podcast or something, and just walk around, get some steps in. Going for walks has been my favorite thing lately because it's like the perfect weather for that right now. The fall in the city is so beautiful. Someone said, did you bring your car to New York? If not, do you miss it? No, I did not bring my car to New York. The reason I didn't bring my car is because it's so expensive to have a parking spot, and you have to drive your car at least every like 3 weeks or so that you keep it like running well, so the oil doesn't go bad and other shit like that. Like you can't just like let it sit for an extended period of time. It's not good for the car. Apparently. I just didn't bring it. I didn't want to pay $500 a month to have it sit in a garage. The only reason I even wanted to bring my car was so that I could go home at any point if I felt like I needed to, and that whole idea completely stemmed from the anxiety that I was having about moving here, and I felt like I was gonna hate it, and I felt like I was just gonna miss home so much and I was gonna need to escape. So the whole reason I was even gonna keep my car was for that, but I decided not to. It's so much money that I don't need or want to spend on that. Also, my parents' cars always have issues, so I just left them my car so that they can drive that at home. They've come up a couple times to see me for Thanksgiving. They came up and then we went home in their car with them. I also was never planning on driving around the streets of New York City to get places, but I do honestly miss my car. When I was home last week for Thanksgiving, it was just nice to drive around and drive to get coffee and listen to music and sing and whatever in the car. I always enjoyed doing that, having my little jam sessions. I do miss it, but it's really not that deep to me. Going along with the holidays and me going home last week, somebody said, how was it getting back home for the holidays? Did you feel like you didn't belong? This is something else that I was really worried about. Going back to the college thing, when I would come home from school and like visit home for the weekend, I did not want to go back. Like the thought of going back made me sick. So I was nervous that I was gonna go home after living here on my own and I was just gonna get comfortable there again and then not want to come back. I had just started to get comfortable here. I was getting my bearings and things like that. And then I spent a week at home and I really didn't feel that I was miserable and didn't want to leave. You know what I mean? And that's huge for me. That is growth. Going back home for the holidays ended up not being like that. I thought it was gonna be like that. I thought it was gonna be a repeat of the college thing, and it wasn't. My thing is, I keep relating everything to that experience because I don't have any other experience in my life to equate moving away to. That's the only time I've moved away. But I fail to remember that I am 3-4 years older now. I have so much more life under my belt. I've grown so much as a person, and I'm in a completely different place right now. Just because I moved away from home again doesn't mean that it's gonna be like it was last time. But back to the question. So did you feel like you didn't belong? No. I didn't even feel like I was a guest in their house. I felt like it was still my home and I was just visiting my other home. I didn't feel like I was a guest. I felt like I still belonged there because that's always going to be home. That is when I realized that I have created a home for myself here too, that I was looking forward to going back to, and that I also felt like I belonged at. Someone said, was moving really that expensive? I have to move into my dorm in January and I'm a little nervous. So I wanted to answer this because there's a huge difference, at least in my experience, between moving into a dorm and moving into your own actual like apartment or house. When I moved into my dorm, it wasn't expensive at all. I didn't have that much stuff that I needed to bring. I mean, it was like enough stuff because I was gonna be living there, but I didn't have to bring a bed, I didn't have to bring a desk, a dresser, any of that kind of stuff because it was all supplied by the school. So I just had to move like my clothes and like bedding and decor and stuff like that. It really wasn't that much. We easily fit everything into our truck and just drove it up ourselves. We didn't have a moving company or anything, didn't have to rent any equipment. It was basically free to move into my dorm. Now, moving into the apartment, completely different story because this is my home base now. When I was in college and I moved into my dorm, my house in Pennsylvania was still my home base. Like I still had like all of my furniture and shit there. I also didn't have a kitchen in my dorm, so I didn't need to bring all of that kind of stuff. But having your own home or apartment that you have to fully furnish and supply is so much more labor intensive, costly in terms of buying all the furniture and supplies and whatever that you need to have here, and also renting a moving truck, getting moving supplies, like hiring people to help you unload the truck, or if you hire a full service moving company that like packs it all up and drives it for you. Moving into your own apartment or house or something like that is so much more expensive than moving into a dorm. So if I were you, I wouldn't be worried. It will be okay. I'm gonna finish on this question. Somebody said, what surprised you about moving? Great question. I think that the thing that has surprised me the most is how it really wasn't as bad as my mind was expecting it to be. And I think that that just goes to show that in order to step out of your comfort zone, you can't be afraid to do something that you're afraid of. I always psych myself out before I do things because, especially if it's something that's unfamiliar to me or it's new or it's a big change, I get super nervous about it. My mind immediately starts thinking of all the things that could go wrong, and it never thinks of the things that could go right. But the fact that I ended up feeling better about it than I thought I was going to, let that be a lesson that you'll never know if you don't try. You have to start looking at things as opportunities rather than being afraid of them. Either way, it'll be a learning experience. Hopefully this maybe is comforting for somebody, because I know that I really talked about how nervous I was to do this before I did it. And if anyone out there is feeling that way about any big change that you're having in your life, just give it a chance and give yourself a chance. Trust yourself and have some faith in yourself that you can do it. And that's my philosophy for the day. And I am gonna go because the sun is setting and I need to go to Trader Joe's. So that's it for me for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you liked it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you've stayed until this point in the video, comment down below, I'm a real one, because you're a real one. If you want to see more videos from me, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I post a new video every Sunday. If you forget that I post a new video every Sunday, or you just want to get notified right when the video goes live, make sure to turn on my post notifications for my channel, the little bell icon, so that you never miss an upload and you get notified right when I post a new video. If you guys have any other questions for me about moving out, my experience, or you have questions for your own experiences, leave them down below and I will try to get to as many of them as I can. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.